the sermon, so I might just go sit down.
Yeah, Richard texted me yesterday. He said, "You mind saying a few words in the morning?" I said, "I'll just take the sermon. That's fine with me." So, I can talk as long as you want me to. He gave me a little free rein, so I'll take it.
I still get my paycheck then.
We got some really good news this week. And first, I want to thank y'all for praying for us. It's a miracle. There's no other way to explain it. 2.5 years ago, the head of the GI clinic, the head of the care center at MD Anderson, said there's nothing any physician on earth can do for you. That was his words. And there wasn't. So that leaves one answer. God took that cancer out of my beautiful wife's body and removed it, and nobody gets credit for that here on earth. About 13 months ago, Holly was supposed to have surgery to try to take that tumor that they said they would never be able to get out of her body. And she kept saying, "I'm not supposed to have surgery. I'm not supposed to have surgery." I'm like, that's the only chance we have. Of course, I wasn't thinking the right way. And, this is the only chance we have is to get this off. If there's one cell between that tumor and that blood vessel, we have the means to get it out. Which told me if there was just any amount of space, that somebody at MD Anderson would get that credit. And that's what it would have been. And I'll never forget the feeling that morning. He said it's going to be a 2-hour surgery or it's going to be a 30-minute process. I'll get in there, I'll look and see. If I can do it, great. If I can't, then I'll be right out there to tell you. And so Holly's parents were there, my parents were there, some other folks were there, Richard and Vicki were there. And so we're all in the waiting room. Down that 4 of us go in the waiting room, but we broke the rules. And I'm not big on rules anyway. So we all go down to they take Holly back. We go down to the cafeteria and eat because it's going to be a while. We come back up and I think Holly's mom was still there with Sandra and Rocky and a few others. And I come walking up and I go down the hallway and I saw Dr. Aloya. And it had been about 20 minutes. And my heart just bottomed out because that was the chance we had. And so Holly's mom and I go in the room with Dr. Aloya and, trying to be a rock and all those great things that you're supposed to do as a man. And I'm like, crap. There's not a cleaner word to say. So, sorry. I'll step down here.
That's why I get the paycheck.
But I just thought this was our chance. And so now it's just going to be the process of watching this happen. And so we're talking with Dr. Aloya, Julia and my parents, and I think Richard and Vicki, they were all still downstairs in the cafeteria. And so I go down there and I said, I just got to talk with Dr. Aloya. And the look on my mom's face was, oh no. And Julia's sitting there, and I'm trying to be strong with her sitting there. And so I told Julia, Mama doesn't have to have surgery. How great is that? And the crazy part is she didn't want Mama to have surgery. Holly didn't want to have surgery. And Julia was like, yes, I get to have my summer with Mama. Because Holly was going to be in the hospital for 3 or 4 surgeries, weeks at a time. And I'm thinking, we're going to plan B. Plan B for us is God's plan A because it's the plan he had the whole time. And so we get to this past week. Last weekend we were in Chicago. We were flying back from Chicago at this time. This is like my dream weekend. Going to Chicago, going to a Cubs game. Been a Cubs fan since I could walk. Love baseball. Leave it to God to trump my weekend. Okay? My my weekend was last weekend, this weekend was his. We go down Wednesday, and Holly has colonoscopy and PET scan on Thursday. The doctor who did the colonoscopy, we had never seen him before. He came in after the procedure, and he said, everything looks great. He said, it's a normal colon. And his big thing was he was supposed to mark where the tumor had attached to the colon originally. Because it was originally colon cancer, spread to liver, lymph nodes, all those things. And when she had the colonoscopy last summer, that doctor was supposed to mark it, and he forgot. And so this doctor goes in there, and we reminded him several times before, we didn't want to go through another process for a colonoscopy. Or I say we, like I had to do it. So we reminded him several times when he talked to us before the procedure. He said, I'll do it. He said, if there's something there to mark, I will do it. Don't worry about it. And so he comes out when it's over with, and he said, everything looks great, normal colon, everything looks wonderful. I was like, okay, did you mark it? He said, nope. Like, great. And, well, why not? He said, there was nothing to mark. He said, there's not even a scar there. And last summer, it was a scar like a polyp had been taken out, is what the doctor said. And now the scar is gone. And he said, I'm not going to just randomly tattoo something to tattoo it. He said, there was nothing to tattoo. There was nothing there. Your colon is 100% completely healthy. Like, wow. This is on Thursday. Like, that's the best news we'll get this week. Little did I know. So then Friday morning, we go to see Dr. Wolf, our doctor, and I think I've described him to y'all before as Hannibal Lecter. A very calm Hannibal Lecter. I don't know how you do that, but he does. He's very stoic, photographic memory that's unbelievable. I mean, we will ask him questions, and he sits back in his chair, he closes his eyes, and he talks to you. It's like the most impersonal thing you can imagine, but he's brilliant. And he's head of the GI clinic at MD Anderson, and he is like the man. Everybody knows who Dr. Wolf is. Oh, Dr. Wolf is your doctor. Our doctor we went to see in Dallas for our second opinion. Dr. Wolf? Yes. What he says goes. And so we see him Friday morning. He comes in. Usually he comes in, shakes our hand, sits down, pulls up the computer, leans back in his chair, closes his eyes, and talks for a little while. We ask him questions. He leaves his eyes closed. He gets up. Holly gets on the table. He touches her stomach and all that to make sure nothing's sore. She gets up from the table. Any questions? See y'all next time. Turns around and walks out. That's what he typically does. Friday, he walked in, sat down at his computer, closed his eyes, leaned back, started talking, looked at his computer again, and he said, there's some medical terminology that we use. And he said, I'm going to give you the medical term for you now. He said, you are NED, which is no evidence of disease. And we start crying. He starts tearing up a little bit. For Hannibal Lecter, that's big. And we're just looking at each other, and we're talking and going through it. And then Holly gets up on the table, and he touches the stomach and does those things, and he's smiling. And it's like, that's almost as big as crying. And I said, Dr. Wolf, it's nice to see you smile. And then he smiles a little bit bigger. And so he gets through, he sits down, he talks, and he said, okay. He said, we're going to get off the chemo. There's no need doing chemo anymore. He said, come back in 3 months, we'll do scans. And he said, I will take your case back to the committee. And there's a team of doctors. There's the liver doctor, the GI, the colon doctor, several others that sit in, and they make determinations. And you have a team of doctors when you go there, as Bob well knows. And so he's going through all the technical things that he has to go through. And he gets through with that, and he just sits there and he said, we'll come back in 3 months, we'll do scans, and here's what we're going to do. It gives us the dates and all that. And anything else? Don't know what to say. No. And he gets up, and he starts sobbing like a baby. And he gives Holly a hug. And we all start crying again. And Holly said, Dr. Wolf, why are you crying? He said, I've never seen anything like this before. And he's been doing this a long time. And I go back, I love quotes, and I go back to one that I think about all the time, and it's the one I started with, of there's nothing any physician on earth can do for you. And it's not anything that we've done, it's not anything that Richard's done, it's not anything but that what God has done. And he has healed her, and I think about so many things that have happened over the last 2.5 years of Caleb being 13 months old and him telling Holly, done. And he wasn't talking, but he looked at Holly and he said, done. And Holly said, what'd you say? He said, done. I think back to a year ago when Julia's praying, and her prayer was, God, please heal Mama, please heal Mama. And one night it changed to, thank you for healing Mama. We didn't say anything to her. We hadn't been to the doctor in the last couple of weeks. She knew if I had her faith, I would be a lot better person. We would be a lot better people. It's been an incredible journey that, they still want to look at scans. They still want to do all those things. Dr. Wolf from Word Go has been big on surgery. He told us one time, radiation is a poor man's surgery. He said there's no better way to get rid of disease than with stainless steel. You go in and you cut it out. And he has been adamant. There will be a colon surgery. We will take part of that out. Friday morning before we left, he said, I'm going to take your case to the committee. And he said, I will be the one fighting not to do surgery. Because the colon doctor will, the liver doctor will. He said, I don't know that we need to. And there's only one reason why. Is because he knows he's seen a miracle. And why would he go in and mess something up that God's perfected? And it's been something for him to experience. There's not a whole lot of positive that goes on in MD Anderson. And so when Dr. Wolf opens his door Thursday morning, he walks out of the room crying. We're standing there crying, hugging each other. Everybody in the hallways turning looking because they've never seen Dr. Wolf cry, number one. And usually when people are crying, it's not a good reason. And so our physician's assistant, who is wonderful, she stuck her head in and she said, what's wrong? I haven't seen your scans. I haven't seen your tests. What's going on? And Holly said, Dr. Wolf's crying. She said, I know. What's going on? And Holly said, there's nothing there. It's gone. And of course, she gives Holly a big hug. She gets upset. And we talked for a minute. And she said, you know what? She said, it's been a really long, bad year in our office. And to see something like this gives you the jump to keep going and keep doing. And we serve an incredible God that all we have to do is what he says. Does he answer every prayer? No. And we've asked 100 times since Friday, why Holly? Why not somebody else? We've had so many friends that have died over the last 2.5 years. Glenn Davis, Whitley, just a line of folks that we've gone to funerals for. And don't know why. And not in the position to question that now. Other than there's a reason. He had a reason, and we'll find out what his reason is. We want to thank y'all for your many, many prayers. I think back all the time to 2.5 years ago when Richard had everybody get on their knees where we were sitting, and just the impact that had on me. And I didn't grow up in a church where you did that. You came in, you sat in the back row, and you got out as fast as you could. And just the incredible support group that Holly's had with the Women's Bible Study Group. Our community group has been incredible to us, for us. Richard has been incredible to me. He always answers the phone, except on Friday he didn't answer the phone. I was mad at him.
But when Vicki called and said you...
Yes, yeah. Smart, yeah. Listen to her. So, there's a lot of people that are still hurting. And, we want to make sure that we're very sensitive to that. Because it is important that we take care of each other, pray for each other. And we just want to thank you for the many prayers, the text messages, the phone calls of the last 2.5 years. We don't know where this journey, she's not released from MD Anderson, she's not free to do whatever. But there's no reason that that's not coming in the very near future. And I know that our life has been changed significantly over the last 2.5 years. I never would have dreamed 2.5 years ago I would have been glad my wife had cancer. There's not anything that's been better for our family than for Holly to have cancer, and for us to have to live what God had in store for us. And if I could have fixed it 2.5 years ago, I would have, but I wouldn't have done it nearly as good as God did. And so our encouragement to you is we all have struggles. We all have things we're going through. Look back in 2.5, 3, 5 years and see what God did for you during that time. And you will be shocked and you will be amazed at how merciful our God is, how grace-giving our God is, and how we'll just step out of the way and do what He tells us to do. He's got some pretty neat things in store for us. So thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your blessing. Thank you for being there. Many of you I've called or left text messages for or whatever throughout this time. You've gone through similar experiences, and I've reached out to you, and you've been there for me. You've been there for Holly. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And number one, thank you to God for being the God that He is. And He's the same tomorrow as He is today, as He was before. And we cannot serve a better God than the one who is there for us at all times, in all circumstances. So thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. Thank you, the church, for the many blessings that you've given us. And now it's our turn to do something. And know that we're here whenever you need us to for anything. And except maybe cooking. That's me, not you, honey. So, just never give up. You know, I love, Jimmy Valvano, his big week was this past week with the Jimmy V Foundation for you that are involved in sports and all that kind of stuff and like watching sports. And actually in our district invocation a couple of years ago, I showed part of the Jimmy Valvano speech because he talks about don't ever give up. And cancer can it can't touch your mind, it can't touch your heart, it can't touch your soul. It can't change who you are and what you are. Only you get to choose that. And when Holly was diagnosed, Jennifer Thompson, everybody else said 90% of it is attitude. If you think you're dead, then you're going to be dead. If you think that you're going to get through this and you're going to pray with the strength to get through it, then you've got a lot better chance than everybody else has. And that's what Jimmy V was saying. He was saying, don't ever give up. Continue to believe. Continue to have that fight in